Hello and welcome. This is Time for Security. I'm Oliver Fine here in Rotterdam at the ASIS International Europe Convention 2018. With me is Professor Martin Gill, founder of the OSPAs. Martin, what are the OSPAs about and what are the future steps we can expect from the OSPAs?
I think the first thing to say is that the OSPAs are about recognising who is really good at security. And if you think about it, in the security world, it's often very difficult to show that you do a good job. I mean, some say rather cynically that if you reduce the crime, they don't say well done, they say we don't need you anymore. And so, more seriously, around the world there's a lot of very good people doing a very good job, but often security is not appreciated, the role's not understood, and the success is not celebrated. And you know, understanding why people are doing a good job very well is crucial. It's important to understand what makes them good, because when we know what makes them good, we can copy that, we can emulate that. And so the idea of the Excellence Awards, the Outstanding Security Performance Awards, is to identify those who are really good at what they do. And it comes out of research. What we did a research project, and our aim was try to find out what distinguishes those who are excellent from those who are just average. And it's that process of saying, let's find out the people who are very, very good, and let's find out why that's the case.
All right, Martin. I heard you have done a lot of research also with prison inmates in order to get grasp to the topic, what is really good security, what is bad security, what is average security. Can you give us an idea what you have done there, or probably a background story to this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the most important things in my world life as a criminologist is the experience of having spoken to offenders, because when you speak to people in prison, you get a perspective from them on what it takes for them to be both a success and a failure. And one of the crucial things you learn from offenders is that when they commit offences, there's always security there. And the fact there's security there is no big deal. They expect it. And their view is, where security is really good, they're in trouble. But most of the time, it's not very good. Most of the time, there are gaps. Most of the time, even when people think they're good and measures think that are supposed to be good, they fall down in some way. And that moment they fall down or are made to fall down is a situation offenders exploit easily. So part of the incentive to me was the recognition that security has to be very, very good. Otherwise, offenders exploit it. Where it's good, it stops things going on. But a lot of the time, offenders tell me they find ways around it. So that's another motivation for me, to distinguish between the very good and the merely average. It's a big, big, big difference. It's a world of difference. And I think one of the problems is the security world hasn't always been good at distinguishing between what is outstanding and what's merely good, as opposed to what's merely average. And you know, offenders, let's be clear, they look for the easy opportunity. And when you speak to them and you say to them, why did you choose that target? And I've been asking this question for maybe 25, 30 years now. Why did you choose that target? By far, the most common answer is because it was easy. And it wasn't easy because there was no security. It was easy because they could get round it. And of course, when you ask them, well, why were you caught? And often the reason they were caught is because in some way the response was outstanding. And there you have a lesson. It's a very simple, straightforward lesson, but it's an important one. That if security is not outstanding, offenders can exploit it. And the consequences are serious. This is about, obviously, people losing things and companies losing things, about people being injured. But at the more extreme, it can mean companies go out of business. It can mean people are seriously injured or even die. And that's the consequences of not having outstanding security. And that's why on the OSPAs, what we're trying to do around the world, with all the leading security associations in every country, including ASIS, but not exclusively so, is to say, let's all come together and identify the very best. And then we can celebrate the success of those who are really good.
All right, Martin. My final question would be, What is the future perspective of the OSPAs? Where you expect the OSPAs to be like in 5 or 10 years from now? What is the vision on this?
Thank you for that, and a good question. I mean, at the moment, the OSPAs operates in 8 countries and growing. We're here at the moment talking to people about other countries coming on board. And the idea is that in due course, you don't just win a category in your country. So, for example, you don't just become Outstanding Security Consultant Germany. In winning Germany, all the outstanding security consultants from around the world go into a global awards competition. So by winning your country, you move into a global awards program. So it's got enormous potential going forward. But already we're finding that there's a lot of prestige to winning. And I think going forward there'll be even more prestige. But what's most important to me is that in every country we recognise there's a big difference between being outstanding as opposed to good. And the consequences of being outstanding are dramatic for the end user, whoever that is, members of the public or organisations, and that around the world there's outstanding good practice, and mostly it goes unrecognised.
Martin, thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much also for your insights. Well,
Thank you.
This was Time for Security from Rotterdam. Stay with us.